actually going to be doing a first impressions on a new product that I received and a makeup tutorial. It has been a minute since I've actually done a makeup tutorial on my channel, just because I feel like a lot of the time people like seeing the end result, but not necessarily how you go about getting the makeup look. But for this product, I was so excited to try it out, and I was already filming an Instagram like tutorial on it, so I decided why not go ahead and film an actual tutorial for YouTube and share with you guys my thoughts on the new Urban Decay Naked Wild West palette. If you guys are new around here, welcome. My name is Andrea. I typically do videos all about beauty, sometimes in fashion, sometimes the occasional luxury post. So if those are things that interest you, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below and turn on that notification bell button so you are aware every single time I post a new video. But let's go ahead and get started first on talking all about this palette, and then we'll go ahead and do the tutorial. So this palette just released. This is Urban Decay's newest addition to their Naked series. If you are familiar with Urban Decay, you know that they had their like original Naked palettes 1, 2, and 3 that were super popular and are super popular. They also have, like recently in the last 2 or 3 years, I want to say, have added more colorful palettes that have now kind of become staples in their Naked collection. So you have like the Naked Heat palette, the Stone palette, and I have like this one here, the Wild West palette. This one was inspired by like earth tones and like the South and kind of like Western themes a little bit. You open it up and you do get a mirror like most of their eyeshadow palettes have. This one does come with a brush as well. It's this brush right here. I used it today. It's like a lucite clear brush, and it does have like a packing or like a lid brush here, and then like a blending brush on one side, so it's a dual-ended one, and that's pretty standard in all of their Naked palettes. They do come with brushes. This is from the Stone palette, I want to say. As you can see here, we have actually a really good balance, I want to say, in these colors. You have your neutral tones, you have some shimmers here that are nice, kind of more everyday wearable tones, and then you do have shimmers that are more like pops of color with this like teal and this like dark copper kind of shade, and then you have some mattes here that are a little bit darker. But these are colorful in a sense because they are color mattes, but they're not colorful like a hot pink or like a bright neon orange. These are very much wearable, darker kind of matte tones. And when I first saw it, I was like, something about this palette just goes really nicely together. I think it is the mixture of like the neutral and earthy tones here, and then you have this like green and like darker kind of more cooler tones. I think this together really does work well. It's that nice balance of like earthy, ground, but also like mud kind of tones. I don't know, I think it just works really well for the theme of this palette. So I did use a bunch of shades today in this eye look, as you guys will see, but I did use Spur here. I used Hold Them for the inner corner here, Town for up on the crease, and then I used Text obviously all over the eye. So you will see how these perform, but overall I actually was impressed with how well this palette worked. Most of the time I feel like palettes have either really good mattes and okay shimmers, or really good shimmers and okay mattes. That's certainly the case. If you haven't followed me for quite some time, you know that before the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette, I didn't really like the other palettes that they had come up with. I didn't really like Naked 1, 2, and 3 because I felt like the shadows just weren't good. And there was also another big palette, I can't remember what it's called, like the Ultimate Basics something palette. I also didn't like that palette, and I ended up selling it because I just didn't feel like the shadows were good. Like they were so powdery and you couldn't pack them on, and they were just splotchy all over the place. But since I started using their palettes like the last 2 or 3 years, like I said, since they've added more like colorful palettes to the Naked series, I do have to say that the formula is so much better. A lot of these shadows work really, really well. Like I said, I used a bunch of them and all of them really performed well. Overall, I was really impressed with using this palette for this look, and I actually had used it a couple of days ago earlier in the week, and I used the Pony Up shade, Laredo, and then Cowboy Rick here as like a more wearable everyday kind of look, and I really like how that turned out as well. I was actually really impressed by the quality of this. I gotta say that Text and Pony Up, the darker shades, I do gotta say that this Text shade, and you'll see it in the tutorial, when I was applying it onto the lid, I had to like go back and reapply it on the lid. When it blended out nicely and there was good pigmentation, but I felt like after a while of like blending, a lot of it kind of fell off. And I'm not 100% sure if that is actually to do with this palette or more so the primer I was using, because I did have to kind of layer up on the primer, and that's not my favorite primer that I typically use. So it could have been that it was actually the primer and not this palette, because this eye did it really well and everything was fine, but it was only this eye on the lid that I did have to go in multiple times just to pack it onto that lid shade. I do think this is a good palette. I think this is a nice palette to include in your makeup collection, even more than like the Urban Decay Reloaded Basics palette. That one's really nice because there's a lot of neutral tones and you can darken them up because you have like a dark brown and everything, but I feel like that one is just so boring because they're all neutral, like kind of warm tones. This one you can really kind of have fun with, like I said, create more like wearable purple or mauve looks, more wearable kind of like teal looks and stuff, and you do have those neutrals if you just want to stick with that for everyday wear. I do have the Urban Decay Stone palette, which I really like, and I love those shimmers because they are colorful, but I feel like instead of going for the Naked Basics Reloaded, the Stone palette, you can just get this palette, have pretty much 2-in-1. I can definitely see myself using this palette for so many looks. Like I said, I created this green look today, I did a wearable mauve look, and I've done already like an orangey kind of fiery kind of look, just because you can do so much with this. So first impressions, really good. I really do like the selection of colors here. I feel like I don't have that many of these colors in my collection, so it's nice to have, but also like wearable neutral tones for everyday wear as well. This does retail for $49, which is the exact amount that all of their Naked palettes retail for, but honestly, out of most of the ones that they've come up with, my favorite one has been the Naked Heat palette because I love warm tones, and this one so far. This one is a really good combination of colors, and I just love how every look has been turning out. Those are my first impressions on this palette. I will have everything I used in today's makeup look linked down below for you guys, as well as this palette if you guys want to go ahead and pick it up. I'm gonna stop talking now and let you get to the tutorial, but if you guys like today's video, if you want to see any more makeup tutorials, leave it down in the comments and I will be happy to do more for you. Otherwise, if you just like today's look, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, and I will see you all in my next video. Alright, so getting started with the look, as you can tell, I already did my brows. I used the L'Oreal Brow Styliste, and then I went in with the Essence I Heart Stage Eyelid Primer. So for today's look, we're using Urban Decay's newest release, the Wild West palette. Such beautiful colors. The first shade we're going to go into is called Nudie. It's just a light beige, a little bit warm kind of tone, and we're applying that with a big fluffy brush from Sephora. I think this is the Pro Blending Brush. As you can see, I'm just going back and forth above the crease as our transition shade, and then small circles. We dive right into the main color. This is Text from that palette. Working this onto the lid, but starting at the bottom part of my eyelid. So I'm going to be starting from the bottom and slowly bringing this up. This is really going to try to help us avoid getting that like you just got punched in the eye kind of look, and making sure that it's not muddy and that everything blends out nicely, because we're packing on the color first, and then once we have enough color pigmentation on there, we're going to go in with the Sigma E25 blending brush, as you see here, and now I'm going to start blending the edges. So I will blend the edges, and then I will go back in with that text color just to make sure that it stays nice and pigmented, and slowly bring that up. If you bring it up way too fast, it's just going to look muddy, it's going to look like a mess, it's not going to turn out. So that's why we pack on color, slowly bring it up, blend out the edges, pack on color again, and do the same thing. It is a slow process and it takes a little bit more time, but I promise you, if you are patient enough, it is going to turn out. Next color we're going to use is called Ghost Town. This is like a burnt orangey kind of reddish tone. I'm going to apply this on with the Sigma E36, and I'm applying this right above the crease just to blend everything nicely. I went in with some micellar water and just a little cloth to clean up the edges, and now I'm adding glitter to this look. So I'm using Urban Decay's, I think it's Midnight Cowboy, the gold glitter, and I'm applying this directly onto the crease. I'm not going to be doing any wing liner for this look, but I am just adding a little bit of Benefit roller liner on the inner corner. I decided that I wanted to flip out the wing a little bit with that text color, so I did that real quick just to make sure that any fallout gets taken off before I apply my foundation. But now I'm applying that Kokie Cosmetics HD foundation. I'm going to be blending this in with my Beauty Blender Pro. This is my favorite beauty blender that they make, even more than the pink one, because it just gives such a flawless application every time. And I didn't show it here, but I did prime beforehand with the e.l.f. Putty Primer, the Poreless Putty Primer, and then I had moisturized beforehand as well. So I'm just packing everything on there, blending out everything, really trying to be careful around the wings and the outer corners of all that. I'm going to go in with the L'Oreal Infallible Concealer. This is a newer concealer into my collection, but I've been really loving it because it really does provide a lot of coverage, but it also highlights and blends out really nicely. Setting everything with Laura Mercier translucent powder. I'm adding just a little bit more translucent powder on the under eye area just to make sure everything is nice and set. I'm gonna go back into that text color, the deep teal, and then I'm taking this on a flat shader brush and slowly dragging this on the lower lash line. Similar to how we did the eye look above, you don't wanna start adding too much color right away because you're gonna get fallout on that area. And you also wanna make sure that everything is nice and blended and you can see the color before you pack on more layers of that color. You wanna avoid it looking dark or muddy, so we're just gonna go back and forth directly on that lower lash line, not bringing it down at all until you're satisfied with it, and then we can move on with the next color. So I'm gonna go back into Ghost Town. It's that like burnt orange, and I'm gonna take this on a pencil brush, and now I will blend right underneath that lower lash line. So this is gonna help blend the text color and that orangey Ghost Town color together so that it gives us a cohesive look. So I'm lightly dusting everything off with a big fluffy brush, and then whatever translucent powder was left on my brush or on my face, I will slowly tap it into the rest of my face. I'm gonna go in with Marc Jacobs Omega Tantastic Bronzer. I'm taking this on a Sigma F05 contour brush, slowly working it into the cheeks and then small circles up just to diffuse the product out. Then I will hit my temples, forehead area, and just try to do small circles to make sure everything is nice and blended. But this bronzer is just so good. It really just kind of does all the work for you. I decided I wanted a little bit more definition, so I'm just taking a more precise Real Techniques brush, running that down the bridge of my nose and into the contour area. To give us an even more chiseled look, I'm adding some translucent powder underneath that contour area with the Beauty Blender sponge. And then as you see here, I'm just defining it a little bit more and blending it up into the temples. I'm gonna go in with MAC's Melba blush. This is one of my favorite blushes just because it's such a nice light color, but it adds a good amount of warmth to the skin, and it really does kind of make the look pop a little bit. So I'm gonna add that to the apples of my cheeks, and then I'm blending it up into the bronzer and contour and temples. For my highlighter, I'm using the Anastasia Beverly Hills So Hollywood highlighter. I think this is a Morphe F10 brush. So I'm gonna hit this on my cheekbones, down the bridge of my nose, my Cupid's bow, and as you guys can see here, I'm also doing the middle of my forehead, just where the light would naturally hit, to give it a little bit more of a glowy and natural look. I'm gonna go into the gold shade in this palette. It's called Hold'em, and I'm just working that as my inner corner highlight, and I think it ties nicely with the glitter liner, the gold liner that we have going on in the crease. Setting everything with the Morphe Continuous Setting Spray. And then this is one trick I love to do, but take my beauty blender that's damp with no extra product and just kind of press everything together and into the skin. I feel like it gives it a more flawless application. Working some Benefit roller liner on my lower lashes, and then I'm going in with Rimmel London's 1000 Kisses Tiramisu lip liner. And to top off everything, I'm using the Makeup Revolution Euphoria lip gloss. It's a beautiful, like peachy kind of pinky color. It's very lightweight, super comfortable to wear, and it's not gonna break the bank because it is an affordable drugstore product. Here's a hot mess, so let me fix that. And here you are. This is the final look. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Hopefully you guys learned something. If you want me to do any other makeup tutorials, a specific palette, let me know and I would be happy to do that for you guys. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.